highvolumemusicradio.com. The Business Knowledge Broker Hour.
Hey, yo, Guru, you ready?
Business, marketing, accounting, social media, resources, strategies, tips, events. The Business Knowledge Broker Hour.
It's just savage business.
Grants, funding, capital, life
insurance,
annuities, finances, tax tips, strategies, music, business, local spotlights, business highlights, leadership, entrepreneurship. The Business Knowledge Broker Hour. highvolumemusicradio.com.
Business Knowledge Broker Hour with Candace Joseph. And you know what? Hey, just like I tell y'all all the time, man, when I tell you I have some great entrepreneurs in line tonight, I've decided tonight I'm just not even gonna tell you. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. But let me tell you something about my first guest that's coming up. When, I tell people this all the time. When you are someone and you find your purpose in what you're doing, you want to always bring it out in the best light. My first guest for tonight is, man, you know what? She figured out a way to find the freedom of time within the love of words. I want to bring up her mic here for tonight, and I want her to introduce herself to the listeners of High Volume Music Radio, the Business Knowledge Broker Hour with Candace Joseph. And she's going to tell you all about her greatness, and then I'm going to tell you why I think she's great. Hey, Miss Cassidy Lee, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. You know what? I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to introduce my first guest. I want her to introduce herself. And the reason being is because, my show is, I let people come on and they tell us about their business. They tell us about, anything that they have going on that's new and exciting. But the great thing that I love about what I do here at this station is in regards to visibility, where I can bring in people that, people may not necessarily know in this walk of life who are absolutely great. And you were one of those jewels that came out of nowhere. And when I say bang, bang, pow, pow, bang, bang, pow, pow. So on the line for those that are tuning in, I have on the line Miss Cassidy A. Lee. She is, she's a writer. She is an editor. And she's a consultant. And the thing about it is that with her, like I said earlier about visibility in websites and in your treatment for what you put out, everything I saw about Miss Lee is great. Miss Cassidy, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourselves to the listeners of High Volume Music Radio. Tell them about your greatness. Tell them why I think you're great.
Thank you so much, Candace. And, for COVID-19, I would say my background is an educator, librarian, outreach coordinator, all those things. I was very active in ministry. But you know what? Things changed, but I really think of it as just a divine appointment, just the opportunity to immerse myself in my writing. And I have been working on my devotional for about 2 years, actually. And it was just so difficult for me to find the time to finish polishing it and publish it. But during this quarantine, I was able to do so, and I just released it out into the world. And I am so thankful. Very much my mission is to help people to heal, be encouraged, and be restored. I think it's a process, and I think it's a process that, people really need to understand that there are others who are going through the same thing, and that through that we can all just come together and lift each other up.
Yes, we can.
So that's my main purpose. I'm really that type of person. I'm in the background. That's why I'm a writer. And so I believe everything, I put out, I wanted to always have a purpose behind it. You know, I'm very intentional with what I release out into the world. And I look at, okay, years from now, what kind of fruit is it going to yield? You know, the
Wow.
principle of reaping and sowing. You know what I mean?
I understand
So,
that. That's powerful.
mhm.
That's very powerful.
So that's really where I am. I just wanted to use.
Well, you know what? You said something about, tapping in and finding your purpose in what you do. I mean, and you did it through the love of words and the art of writing itself. Even though I know you said, you're a librarian, which means, you're into books and literature and things by nature. But what was something that made you sit down and really tap into writing this wonderful piece of work that I want you to tell our listeners about?
Well, it's been one of those things where different events where I can just see, like, this is a time where I sat down and I created. I started my blog in 2009 when I lost my dad, and I just, kept it up. And then in 2016, there was the Great Flood in Baton Rouge, and I lost maybe 90% of everything I own.
Wow.
And so it was kind of like going through this period of rebuilding. And in order to just heal myself, I started to just write out my emotions. And in doing that, I started to think to myself, how can these words also help someone else? Like, just passing it on. Because, like I said before, many times we think we're the only people who are dealing with certain situations, when in fact, others can also just find healing in our own testimony.
You're absolutely correct. Tell the listeners that are listening the name of the book that you just released in July and its purpose behind it.
It's a long title, but it's Finding Peace During the Healing Process. And I was very intentional with that title as well because, again, healing is a process and we need to be gentle with ourselves, but also there's a peace that we need in order to stay centered and focused on being fully restored. So
Wow.
I wanted to make sure that people understood how important just being able to have peace is, because there are things that we think we need to be happy and all the time. That's not necessarily so. The healing process is messy, but you can at least have peace during that,
You are absolutely correct about that. I love what you said about, healing is a process within itself. And what I really loved about, your book treatment was that you talked about all types of healing. It didn't have to necessarily be, health or a death in the family or illness or, overcoming some type of, tragedy. You talked about healing on spectrums of all.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely love that. Within that also, you have, it's 21 days, correct?
Yes. 21.
I love that because, a lot of business people say, okay, it takes 21 days to form a habit. And I love the fact that you turn that into how in 21 days you can go through certain processes and heal yourself. I absolutely love that. I love that.
And I'm glad you pointed out business people, because as a working professional, it was very difficult to balance my devotional life. Teaching, librarianship is very, and so finding that quiet time to sit and meditate and pray, it was difficult. But I wanted to make it, I call it small but mighty, so that people could start their day with it. It still has scriptures in it, and it's not a supplement for the Bible. I make sure to put that in there. But it is something to just help rejuvenate you and start your day off strong.
Yeah, kind of like those daily affirmations that people have, right? So I look at it in the same light as that. Like, okay, you get up in the morning and, sometimes it's something that you might do over your nice cup of coffee, or even, listening to that rain fall outside, and you just take those minutes to yourself, right, and you read through it and you say, okay, how do I want to, what are some of the things that I need to take a look at inside and figure out what I want to heal first. I think that was the beautiful thing about it for me, because when I looked at it, I was like, okay, well, wait, one of my team members bought it. I was like, wait a minute, let me check this out. And I was like, wait, so I love the fact that it didn't matter what you were trying to heal from. I love the fact that every 21 days you can start over and heal something else. I think that's the way I looked at it. I said, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. I mean, I absolutely enjoyed it. But I have to say, your love of words, it came across here. It came all the way through. It shined through. And, that's one of the things I always talk about when I tell people about their products and services. It has to shine through. It has to have legs on its own. And I love the fact that your book has legs on its own. And when you talked about leaving something behind, this is definitely something that's, that people will, look towards and read. And to me, when I looked at it, I said, this can start family conversations within to heal, within ourselves.
Right.
And
I think.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Well, especially I'll just say with our community, with the African American community, I wanted to be very intentional with the different types, because I came from a very traditional church, and oftentimes our mental health was not, it wasn't touched upon the way that it should, and it wasn't looked at as something that could be, a part of the process in the natural and in the spirit.
Yeah.
It was more of, you can just pray about it, and it really is a process, and there are different aspects of it that you need to literally break down, because even as I went through it, I could see things that came out for me.
Wow. I love that. You healed yourself while writing a piece of work that can help other people heal. How amazing is that? Round of applause. Round of applause, because I feel like sometimes, a lot of people go through those things and they'll see the self-help seminars online, or they'll see the, courses, 5 days to the new you. No, you broke that thing down. You said, well, hey, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be immediate. But these are some tips and some tools, and you can use these daily affirmations to walk yourself through that process. And I think I looked at it from a standpoint of, like you said about those conversations that people don't have. A lot of times people are scared that if you have conversations with people in regards to what's going on with you on a mental level, or even a spiritual level, or even, physical level, that those things can be held against you, or somebody can, use it as ammunition against you. But I look at it from a standpoint of, how great is it to know your own truth?
Exactly.
How can you tap into your greatness if you don't know your own truth about you? So when I say I thank you, thank you for putting together this body of work. Thank you for, sharing it. A lot of times people that are, in that creative space and they're writers, they don't get, sometimes they don't get the accolades and the flowers that they should get because of what they put out there that can actually help someone. And it can, it's, you're one person. But at the same time, when people read this and they pass that along and say, well, hey, you need to check this out. You need to go buy this. That within itself will bring about greatness that could bring about change. So thank you for being one person who has decided to make an impact within your own community and within the world. Thank you.
And that's mission accomplished, because I want to empower creatives, because like you said so eloquently, you can heal yourself through your art. I think that's a part of God giving you that purpose, but also you're just energized and filled by it. But as you're releasing those things out into the world, as long as people are being able to benefit from it, even if after you're gone, like those words remain. Like we're still reading the words of other people, and there are things that are being, brought up now that were released 30 years ago, and now, like you said, they're getting their accolades.
Yes.
And I think that's very important to continue to remind yourself as a creative that your purpose behind what you're putting out is going to eventually grow.
I love how you just said that. I love that. Round of applause again. You brought energy and light to this. And for me being someone who, hey, I'm an avid reader. You talking about you're a librarian. You used to be, you work in the library space. Hey, you don't even understand. The library was like my second home after schools. That was like the place to go.
Yeah.
And look, don't let it be a library that have the beanbag chairs that's real comfortable and I can sit in a corner with a book. Oh, and look, I was bad. My mom used to take us to the library every week. I used to be one of those kids that sit in the beanbag chairs, push it in a corner, and read the book, and then still check out the book. I love it. I love it. So I want you to tell people, Miss Cassidy, how they can find this great art of words. How can they find this, and how can they find you online?
Well, they can go to CassidyAlee.com, and they can go to my e-commerce store, and my book is listed there. It's currently hosted on Amazon, but I'm working to get it on several more platforms and in bookstores, so that's coming soon. And they can just subscribe to my blog to keep up with me, and I'm also on social media. Most of my handles are at Cassidy A. Lee 42.
Awesome. All I have to say is this is a call to action to the listeners of the Business Knowledge Broker Hour. You guys need to go and get this great piece of work. I mean, I couldn't say anything greater about it. I want you to tell the listeners the name of this book one more time.
Finding Peace During the Healing Process.
Finding peace during the healing process. That's right. It is 21 days of greatness that you can get through, and it's going to have you go through it's going to break you down, because it's going to give you those tough questions, the things that you don't want to talk about, the things you don't want to think about. But when you come out on the other side, it's pure greatness. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. And I just want to say thank you. So you know what? I'm going to dedicate the next music break to you. And I'm going to play Dove's Eyes, Tasha Cobbs. Thank you so very much, Miss Lee. Thank you for being one of those jewels out here for us to find. And, keep in touch. As you grow in your creative spaces and you come out with more work, you're always welcome here at the Business Knowledge Broker Hour with Candace Joseph to bring your greatness and shine all the way to the top.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was my honor and privilege.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
HighVolumeMusicRadio.com. The Business Knowledge Broker Hour.
Hey, yo, Guru, you ready?
Business, marketing,